You're listening to a podcast on the Two Guys Talking Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Green Gab Podcast, a place to gab with people rocking it in green. Green homes, green living, and green companies. Join Marla Esser Cloos, the green home coach and author of Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices to a Better Home, and Tony Pratt, the Director of Builder Relations at The Sound Room. Here are your hosts, Marla and Tony.
Marla and Tony on the Green Gab Podcast, gabbing today with a guest kind of in the studio, hooked in via phone.
And kind of not.
And kind of not. Hey, we got on the line Eric Tilden, who's the program manager at NAHB, but I'm going to let him tell you what NAHB is. Hey, Eric. How are you today?
Hey, Marla. Hey, Tony. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Excellent. Happy to be on the podcast. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we're excited you're here.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners what NAHB stands for?
Yeah. So for those listeners who don't know yet, NAHB is the National Association of Homebuilders. We're a trade association, and we have home building associations all throughout the country. We represent almost 140,000 members, and we are headquartered in Washington, D.C., is where I am today.
How are things in Washington, D.C. today?
Not too bad. Weather's looking pretty bright. We just got off a 3-day weekend.
Nice.
Happy belated President's Day.
There you go.
So weather's looking pretty good. And for the rest of the week, it's supposed to be pretty sunny and warm and very un-February-like.
So are the cherry trees blooming yet?
Not yet, but
I bet they'll be
if
early.
the weather holds up, if the weather holds up, they might be coming earlier than before.
There is nothing more beautiful than the cherry trees down around, is it the reflecting pool? Down around the Lincoln Memorial? Oh.
Yeah, and they're sprinkled throughout the city. And we have so many tourists come in during that time of year to see it. We have festivals, so everybody's really excited that it's right around the corner.
Nice. Let's go, Tony.
You know, wouldn't that be nice?
I know, we have a busy March. I don't know that that'll happen.
But maybe in April, your next podcast can be in D.C.
There you go. Well, I'll be in D.C. in June, but...
there you go.
But there will be no cherry blossoms then, so...
No.
I'll come visit when there's no politicians there.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, that's going to be a cold day and you know where.
That's all right.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So I was logging on to the NAHB website to pull up what we're going to talk about today. And I love one of the things I saw on the front page of the NAHB website today. And it said, "We're crossing the country to meet families who live in the homes our members build." I love that. I love this fact that we're attaching and connecting to the community. Don't you agree that NAHB is just really evolving and changing? I mean,
absolutely.
You being on board is a big part of that.
Well, I mean, I play a small role. Small.
Yeah, but you're the face of the new NAHB, I think. I really do. Yeah,
we're getting out there. It does sort of feel like we're always a grassroots organization, but now it feels like we're reaching back out and reestablishing ourselves as that sort of grassroots organization. I mean, again, we have members all across the country, and we represent a really broad spectrum. So it's really nice to get connected with people in every state and see how they're doing.
Couldn't agree more. And I've actually had the honor and actually a fairly rare occurrence of now belonging to 2 homebuilders associations in different states. And since homebuilders tend to be kind of attached to the ground, to the land, we don't have a huge number of members that move around between our local organizations. So it's been a real eye-opener to go through that process.
You'd almost have to work for a national builder or a national manufacturer.
Right. So if you worked for an appliance manufacturer, for instance, you could. But because we are a bottoms-up organization, so for folks that don't know what that means, our home builders associations and BIAs, building industry associations, are local organizations, and then they are part of the federation of NAHB, the National Association of Homebuilders. So decisions are made by these local people that then kind of funnel up, and it's kind of all complicated. But what's really cool about it is it really reflects the regional differences and things that need to be taken into account in different parts of the country. Because the building needs at one coast are very different from the Midwest or up north. So it helps to account for a lot of that.
You have so many
Absolutely.
climates and so many different temperate zones that we have to build in.
And so many different cultures.
Yeah.
We've talked about how unique St. Louis is and some of the ways we do business and how decisions are made here and how government operates here. So there's hundreds of cities across the United States that have their own unique things.
Yes, there are.
Yeah. And even when they're right next to each other, they can be very different from each other.
Isn't that the truth?
When it comes to doing things like codes and regulations, one city in one state can be completely different from another city in the same state. It's pretty amazing.
There's a podcast we should do, Tony, is explaining the importance of building codes. And I know it's complicated, but most homeowners really have no idea how codes affect their life.
We'd have to get somebody from like the codes committee.
I can do that.
Oh, yeah. I know we could.
Okay, well, food for thought.
All right.
Food for thought.
Yeah, we've got some great professionals.
Yeah, we do.
In codes.
Yeah, and I actually, because of my involvement in the committee that you help with, Sustainability and Green Building, I've learned a lot more about codes.
Actually, we just touched on this morning. We had our local HBA's economic forecast breakfast. And the one thing they did talk about was right now, 25% of the cost of the house is regulation and codes.
Yeah.
25%.
Pretty astonishing.
Yeah, it really is when you think about it.
It's crazy.
And it could very easily go up to 30 within just a couple of years.
If the codes and regulations are supporting things that are good for all of us, then that makes sense. But if they're not, they need to be reevaluated. So it'll be interesting. Stay tuned because there's a lot afoot with that. I have had the opportunity to meet Eric a couple of times at some conferences and some meetings. And Eric, you have a fascinating background. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you ended up with NAHB.
Well, it's been a long and strange journey. But ever since college, I had always been interested in sustainability. So I took sustainability-related courses as I was studying civil engineering. And I ended up getting my master's from the University of Florida, go Gators, and focused in public works and sustainability. And then worked for an engineering firm for a few years, received my professional engineering license, and then worked for a sustainability consulting firm. Eventually found the position with NAHB and moved this way. It's been a long migration in the world of engineering that got me into sustainability. Sorry if my throat cuts in and out. I actually recently returned from Africa for volunteering with Engineers Without Borders in Cameroon, building a water supply system in a very rural area in the first half of February. And it's very arid there right now. It's their dry season. So sand is constantly being lifted up on the ground. And so I've been breathing in sand for the last 2 weeks. So my voice goes in and out. Yeah, it's slowly coughing up.
So Eric, with your work with Engineers Without Borders, would you say that things that we look at here in modern civilization and first world countries that we look at as green and sustainability, when you get down to a developing nation or country, those same practices are vital to their survival in those countries?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. With Engineers Without Borders, one of the requirements is that every solution that we produce, and EWB does water and infrastructure and bridge building and all sorts of projects, but every project has to be looked at sustainably from a sustainable point of view. For instance, for our water project, it's a gravity-fed system, and it only uses local materials that the community can get their hands on.
So they can do it.
So that they can do it, because the key to sustainability is actually operations and maintenance.
Right.
When it comes to a building or a water supply system, it's really who is using it that makes it sustainable in the long term. And so if they don't have the tools to fix the system or they don't know how to repair it, then it's not really sustainable. And that was actually an issue back in the 70s and the 80s. A number of aid groups went into Africa and built a number of wells, all with good intentions, but then those wells fell apart within sometimes less than a year. And those communities couldn't fix those wells, so it was all for naught. So with EWB, they really focus on the long-term sustainability of a project. So when we go in to design something, we have to explain how we're designing it to the community and ensure that they can operate it and maintain it for 20 years plus. So it's a big focus of the organization.
And there's a huge lesson there, because that's how we in the developed world need to look at, in my opinion, need to look at our own infrastructure, at our own homes, our own buildings. Can we build them, A, to last, but to be maintained and operated by the people that are right there?
Right. if the homeowner has a better chance of maintaining it, he's going to have a better experience in it.
And it's going to last longer because you've taken care of
it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll be so surprised about how many homeowners have a great HVAC or air conditioning system and don't change the filter.
Yeah.
Something so simple that can be done and for relatively cheap, it totally will make your equipment so much more efficient and run optimally compared to just accidental neglect.
Well, you've had a cool path to get to where you are, and I'm just absolutely thrilled that you have joined the team at NAHB. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and really look forward to continuing to work with you because I think you bringing the real world knowledge that you have to the team has just been invaluable. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, Marla. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And Tony, we've just met.
Yes, we have.
So you can't brown nose him yet, sorry.
Yeah. 5 minutes. It's been amazing.
We'll give you a few minutes to do that.
Actually, it's been 10.
We're going to take a break, so you can practice while we're on break. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Mike Wilkerson from the 24 Podcast here. There's only one place on the internet I go for 24 Legacy fans. It's 24legacyfans.com. It's the best, most vibrant Facebook community for 24 Legacy fans ever. 24legacyfans.com. That's 24legacyfans.com.
Thought about a career in voiceover? Need a great, cost-effective on-hold message for your organization or business? Don't know where to start? Check out The Voice Farm, your one-stop shop for voiceover needs. Check it out now by accessing The Voice Farm at voicefarmers.com and see what difference can be made with a company that is truly outside the box. From the Voice Box, voicefarmers.com. That's voicefarmers.com.
Wouldn't it be cool if your advertising could last forever? It can with perpetual advertising. Here's how it works. Unlike TV or radio ads, where every instance the ads are broadcast, they're only played once and lost forever. Perpetual advertising could have repeat exposure and replayability weeks, months, and even years after they're inserted in a podcast. So even if a podcast is a few years old, your ads will still be impactful to repeat listeners, as well as new listeners. This gives your advertising dollar the most bang for the buck. Find out more about perpetual advertising at twoguystalking.com/sponsors.
Gabbing today with Eric Tilden of NAHB, Sustainability and Green Building. Gosh, that's a long title, Eric.
You need like an acronym or something.
I know.
It almost doesn't fit on the card. I know.
So are your cards like, those big cardboard checks they give golfers when they win a golf tournament?
No,
Are they that long?
That's a great idea. I think that should be my card from here out, the size of that card. I think it'll be really convenient, too, to hand out to people.
Oh, yeah. You could, block entrances with them. Did you get one of my cards?
Needs a trailer to haul the business cards along.
People will get really excited because they think they're getting a check every time they meet me.
That's a great idea.
My information. Yeah. That's how I lure them in to email me.
Oh,
That's
my
how
gosh.
you roll.
The things we come up with on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. You really don't want to know.
Yikes. Okay, so Eric, at International Builders Show in January, you had the opportunity, you and the team there, had the opportunity to unveil a brand new offering that I was so excited to see, the Sustainability Toolkit.
Yeah.
Tell us what the intention of this is. What is it?
Well, throughout the country, the number of home builders that are using sustainable and high-performance building techniques, or the number of builders, especially that are becoming more interested in these techniques, whether it's through personal interest or through customer interest, is steadily increasing across the board. So what we want to do is provide a toolkit of resources designed to equip and support those home building associations and their members that choose to be active in the sustainability arena, and to really get information to people who are interested in learning more about green building.
And those are both increasing, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we've noticed a greater influx of interest in the last, obviously, decade, but really in the last few years, it's been steadily increasing. The number of homes being built to third-party certifications or just integrating green practices in general is increasing. Yeah, so we wanted to provide this toolkit, and so we launched it at IBS in January.
And IBS is not a gastrointestinal distress. It's the International Builders Show. Everybody asks me that every time I say that.
Yeah, I got to be honest. When I first started working here, it really perked my ears up when people started talking about IBS. After the first
trying to figure out where you're not eating at, right?
Yeah. But no, it's a great builder show. A lot of turnout. We have a lot of great educational sessions. And we have in that International Builder Show what we call the High Performance Building Show. It's on the show floor, or High Performance Building Zone on the show floor. And this year we had education going on pretty much continuously throughout all of the days. And they actually built things right there on stages and demonstrated high performance techniques.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. And we got a large group of people that would filter in and out throughout the day to watch some of these construction techniques take place right there in front of them. It was a great experience.
So Tony and I had an opportunity to present several workshops or talks in some of the industry-specific areas, the centrals. And we saw the same thing. We kind of were on the other side. Rather than showing the techniques, we're talking about different concepts and how different concepts tie together, like how building for disabilities, for access. But we had really good interest this year.
Or things you could do as a company to establish your green credentials.
Yeah, walking your talk. But we did. We had a lot of interest. Ironically, the one talk that we had the best attendance at was the last day at lunchtime. I figured by then everybody'd be gone.
That's because it was lunchtime.
Yeah. But they stuck around.
I know.
I was like, wow, I know.
It was a big lunch, It took them a while to eat it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, fine. You just keep discounting us.
I do.
Yeah, that's the key.
So
heavy lunches.
when I gave the sustainability toolkit to Tony, the first page he pulled out.
Actually, the only page I pulled out was this.
Was the green certification activity by year. And I'm going to let him take over the story here because it was a very interesting reaction that I got.
Well, I could understand it because I deal with builders that build certified homes, and I've probably worked on hundreds of them over the last 10 years. But to see that Missouri is ranked 9th overall on certified activity in 2016, I'm pretty sure very few people, even in our own HBA,
know that
would realize this.
Yeah. And to clarify, they're for the National Green Building Standard alone.
Yeah.
So one of the infographics was for the National Green Building Standard.
That's the one he's looking at.
Other programs, yeah. It's very impressive.
The other thing I saw, I know that number 9 overall, but for the single-family residential, we're 4th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think maybe Washington, Oregon, places like that. Nope, Missouri.
We have a high number of green building certified homes through the National Green Building Standard in a lot of states that people don't initially think of when they think of green building. For instance, Texas has an amazing number of multifamily and single-family homes.
Well, I'm looking at this. What about Mississippi at number 5 for single family? I would not have thought Mississippi would be big on sustainable building and certified green building.
No, absolutely. I mean, some of the states like New York, you kind of, are give-me's almost, if you will. There's a lot of interest in there, and you assume there's a lot of interest in there in a state like New York. But no, Mississippi has a lot of interest, Georgia, Indiana, and both of the Carolinas.
Yeah.
So,
surprise,
North Carolina's
surprise.
Actually a pretty good hub of green building, especially when it comes to homes. They have a lot of great projects in North Carolina.
I found this graph in this map just very informative and downright shocking at times.
Eric, when you get a chance to email me, we'll make sure that we have links up on the podcast notes to the things we're talking about today. And if there's a way, if some of these are behind password-protected parts of the site, if there's any of them that, like this infographic in particular, that we can make sure to share with our listeners, we sure would like to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know I've been speaking with Jacqueline. A lot of them are passworded right now, but we're trying to take that off.
Okay, cool.
The web team automatically does stuff like that. We're working with the web team to remove it so that, especially in the number of items, are open to the public and not for members only. So
great.
We want to make sure that they have access to it.
That's a really good point. So I'd like you to talk about what else is in the sustainability toolkit. But being available to the public is great because I'm a huge believer in transparency, and this does exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of home buyers today are going to the internet for more information and are becoming far more educated about their home before they actually decide to buy it. So we wanted to make sure that we're providing them with good information when it comes to sustainability and high performance, as well as introduce them to certain green building techniques and practices that they may not be aware of, or they may have an idea, but they kind of don't know what it means, and really allow them to ask questions to their builder or their remodeler about, is this appropriate for me? Is it something that I can do? Is it cost effective? Will I receive a benefit of it? Will it really work the way it should? Or, every condition is really different depending on climate change and locality. So not every answer is the right answer for everybody. Kind of have to really just, be introduced to a plethora of answers. And then that way you can ask some questions to your builder. But we wanted to make sure that, the public has access to some educational videos which introduce basic green building practices to the buyer, as well as just like infographics like we were just discussing and checklists that allow you to see what's out there. And a lot of these items kind of allow you to dip your toes into the National Green Building Standard because there are hundreds and hundreds of practices when it comes to green building in that standard. And so it can be a little intimidating. So let's, dip our toes in a little bit, and then you can go from there.
So it's kind of the appetizer, and the main course is coming later.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Hey, well, hang on to that thought. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and gab about it some more.
Sounds good.
Looking for a straightforward user interface and a cost-effective, feature-filled multi-track recording software? Call off the search. Mixcraft from Acoustica has exactly what you're looking for. It's time to include reliable audio creation and editing software with real punch into your projects. Check out Mixcraft now over at acoustica.com/Mixcraft and start a new generation of audio creation and editing today.
Everyone knows what identity theft is, right? Well, maybe not. Learn more by listening at scammercast.com.
Everyone's wanted to start a blog, but who wants to start one all on your own? Take your interest in creating a blog to the next level by getting bit by the Bloggers Bug. Bloggers Bug is a blogging community that allows you to polish your blogging skill set today. Log on today at bloggersbug.com and get bit by the Bloggers Bug. bloggersbug.com. That's bloggersbug.com.
Still gabbing with Eric about the sustainability kit. And oh my gosh, Eric, there's so much cool stuff in here.
There's a ton of stuff in this.
I got so excited. I was like a little kid in a candy store. Oh my gosh, look at this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
Yeah,
you guys did a great job on this.
Excited. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was an effort put on by our members and in help with our staff. It came out really well. And we're continuously adding to it too. So this isn't a one and done sort of situation. This toolkit will be revised continuously throughout the year of 2017 and beyond. And so there'll always be new and updated information in there.
Nice. You mentioned videos. Tell us a little bit more about the videos that are on here.
So what we have available in the toolkit is some introductory videos for the National Green Building Standard to sort of introduce you to what is it does it cover, what are some example practices that you'll find in there, how do I go about doing it if I'm interested in certifying my new or remodeled home. We also have a video for the updated standard because every so often, every 3 years-ish, it gets revised by a consensus committee of industry professionals. And it represents a very broad spectrum of individuals that work in the home building industry. And it's all done through ICC and ASHRAE. That's why it's an ICC ASHRAE 700 standard.
Wait. So tell our listeners what ICC is.
Oh, yes, sorry. The ICC is the International Code Council. They develop codes. So if you have building codes or really any sort of code or standard, it was probably developed in consultation with the International Code Council.
And the standard is also ANSI approved, which is the American National Standards Institute. Is that correct?
Nailed it. And then we also, in the development with ICC, we also had ASHRAE, which is the American
Society of Heating,
Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers.
There you go. Good job.
Short, ASHRAE. So they have a number of codes themselves when it comes to your air conditioning and heating equipment. So they were part of the development process in this go-around for the new National Green Building Standard, which is the 2015 standard.
Which is out now, so we can be building to. So for our listeners, there's different versions, and right now you can build under the 2012 version, or you can move to the newest version, which is 2015.
Yes, absolutely. And they've actually are about to start in this year the development of the 2018 National Green Building Standard. Green building practices are always evolving. They're improving over time. You've got to make sure that whatever standard or program that you use when it comes to doing green building for your home is up to date and reflects the most current technology available, the most current information available.
Why is it so important that all these organizations are involved in a certification process, like ASHRAE and ICC and ANSI? I mean, there's a bunch of alphabet soup to the average person, but why is that so important?
Well, so those organizations are well established. They're professional organizations, and they represent certain aspects of the building industry. Like, these are professionals who have behind them just years of experience when it comes to, for ASHRAE, heating and ventilation, for ICC, obviously international codes. So when something comes out and it's developed by the ICC and ASHRAE and the National Association of Homebuilders, people who use that product, in this case, the National Green Building Standard, sort of know that it's developed by a very reliable source. And since it's also ANSI certified, it actually was developed through an open consensus process, which means everybody had a chance to comment on it. So even with the 28 standard, if you're an individual from Missouri, Alaska, Florida, wherever, and you look at the current version of the standard and you're like, you know what, I think this could be better by doing something a little bit different, like X, Y, and Z, you can submit your suggestion of X, Y, and Z to the development committee this year, and they will review it and consider it. And then what they'll do is they'll bring it in front of industry professionals who have technical expertise in these areas, and then they'll be able to decide whether or not to integrate that into the standard. So it's an open consensus process. They do open periods of comment, so it's very sort of glass door. You get to see the development, and you can have a part of it, and I think that's really important.
So a homeowner or a resident has, or a builder even, has the assurance that they are working with a certification process that is accepted and has a lot of different organizations that are very reputable involved in the process. So they have that peace of mind and that assurance. Is that really what it's getting at?
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
I know so many times we talk about these things, but we don't talk about what the benefit is. That's part of what Tony and I really seek to bring with the Green Gab is, hey, let's get down to why this really matters. And so thank you for sharing that explanation with us.
Yeah, it's always the why.
It is the why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I was actually just reading Simon Sinek. He's a person who does a lot of TED Talk videos and writes a number of articles and books. He has a book called Start With Why.
Yep.
And it's a great read if anybody has time to
there you go.
read it. And before you go with the how, the what, start with why are you doing this? Like, why did you form this company? Why are you choosing to do green building? Why should you do this over that? You really got to start with why, and then the how and the what will sort itself out later.
Works in our personal lives as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely. So we kind of got off track of this saying a sustainability kit, but for good reason. So that was a good rabbit hole to go down.
Happens.
Yeah.
It does. We always, like I said, we always find a topic that we just think is worth really diving into that wasn't on our original agenda. So I love that. I did want to make sure that our listeners knew that there were also some other pieces to the sustainability kit that we really thought were useful. What have I missed?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to remember what else. Oh, wait, the ones I'm holding in my hand. The case studies.
Yeah, the case studies. So we have a number of case studies that showcase the different ways actual builders have successfully certified their homes to the National Green Building Standard. And you can take a look at these homes. It includes pictures and factoids about the home and some descriptions about what they did and what green practices they pursued. So they're really an excellent way to sort of see what are other people doing. And we're going to continuously add more case studies from across the country because people are doing stuff everywhere. So in single-family, multifamily remodeling, these are another way people can pique their interest in green building and see what people are doing all across.
Hey, if they can do it, so can I.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, I think cool.
Exactly.
It's nice that you have them from across the country as far as case studies, because the minute somebody from California looks at something, well, maybe the person in Maine says, well, that's what they do in California. What about something more regionally appropriate for me? And as long as you have more of that information, then I can't see why this isn't a great resource. There is one thing that I thought was pretty funny. You have a little activity book here for the kids.
Yes.
The Sustainability Squad. Book. That caught my eye.
Yeah. So, a lot of our products that we put out as a national organization are directed towards members who are builders and associates. So we have a number of reports and technical reports, really technical details. But we wanted to provide something that builders can use in their office when they have a family come through who might be interested in green building. A number of people who buy a home these days might have children. And so it gives them a device to use, something interesting to have out that the kids can learn about sustainability in their own home.
Hey, if you want to educate the parents, educate the kids, right?
Well, and this is an age group, too, that's being brought up with this.
Yeah.
So these are not foreign terms to the kids.
No. We noticed that even with millennials today, a number of millennials are definitely gauging more towards sustainability and social and environmental impact as really key factors into what they choose to do, whether it's buy a home or what jobs they want or what they buy, anything like that. And those millennials are now having children. And those kids are extremely savvy when it comes to green building and sustainability. And we want to encourage that by making it fun to really work on sustainability in your home. So we have the activity book that's there for download, and people can print it out, or I believe you can order it online too, so you can actually get the book. So
we'll have to look for that, and we'll put the link up for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too cool.
We're really excited about that.
I can't thank you enough for sharing what you've done with the you NAHB and you personally both, as well as the other people on the team. But
yeah,
I know that your addition to the team has really helped to make this happen, and I know how hard you worked on it because I served on the committee with you. And we just gave you ideas. You did the heavy lifting. So thank you.
And my colleagues, Jacqueline Toole and Megan Carroll, that work in the green building and sustainability arena with me here at NAHB, the three of us have been trying to crank out as much as possible of quality green building information and make it available to both members and the public.
Well, we're making headway. Yay.
Making headway.
Yay. We are. Well, hey,
absolutely.
We're going to wrap it up here, and we will post a bunch of links on the podcast notes so that folks can go check out what we're talking about and see it. And Eric, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Enjoy the weather up there while it lasts.
Thank you. You guys can always come out to D.C. to do a podcast.
There you go.
What did I tell you? My rule is once the politicians are gone.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up on the Green Gab today. Thanks, and have an awesome day.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Green Gab Podcast and for joining us on our own personal Green Odyssey as we change the world one Green Gab podcast at a time. What did you learn about during this episode? Tell us now by visiting our website at greengabpodcast.com. And remember to connect with us via iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter. The links to do all of this are at our website, greengabpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, but more importantly, thanks for rocking it in green.